What is up, everybody? All 38 folks here. My name is Ryan Wood. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at Omniprint International. For those of you who don't know me, for those of you who do know me, and I know you, good to see you again. I'm happy to have you here. We do these every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern, just to give you guys value. We're not getting nothing out of this. We spend a ton of time preparing these for you, going through the lessons and what those are going to be. And again, we want to give these to you every single week so that you guys can level up in your guys' free jet performance. So again, every Wednesday, if you haven't already, put a recurring calendar on that business calendar of yours, save this Zoom link in it. And we look forward to having you here every week. Ultimately, by the way, we've got about 40 people here. We had 48 last week. More people will kind of cruise in. I want to get to the point where we've got 200 or 300 people on here, free jet operators who are looking to take their game to the next level. So if you know free jet operators that are not here, didn't come to last week's, then make sure you invite them. What we're going to do today, as most of you may or may not know, is we are going to talk RIP settings. We've got my man Seraphine here, who was here last week. We're going to be talking about RIP settings, and Seraphine is our tech manager. So he's very familiar with the product, very familiar with all things on the back end here within the RIP settings. And I'm just looking forward to having you guys here. Engage with us in the chat. At the end of this, we're going to go through a 20-minute set. We're going to go through a 20-minute coaching session on RIP settings. We're going to start with the basics. We're going to flow through to some advanced strategy, and then we're going to take some live Q&A as well. You can ask me anything. I'm going to be honest. I'm not the right person to ask about RIP settings. I'm just a marketing guy. So if you've got some technical questions, Seraphine's going to take that. But if you've got anything for me in terms of brand performance, marketing, brand positioning, whatever, I'd be happy to add that value to you as well. So Seraphine, I'm going to kick it over to you, big dog, to lead us through.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. And like Ryan said, if you guys have anybody or know anybody else that is an Omniprint free jet owner and is struggling with some of the settings with the RIP, welcome them, add it to your calendar, like Ryan said. So I'm going to be going over the setting up an image. This is probably not anything that some of you guys aren't familiar with, so it'll be some real simple, quick, and then we'll go into some of the advanced stuff. This is just to kind of get everybody that is new to our Omniprint group to kind of understand and better understand how to set up your print, right, when you're about to send the image. So what I'm going to do now is just grab any one of our images here. We got a couple samples here, and what I'm going to do is grab some of our Omniprint samples. We'll grab this one here, right? So as you guys all know, right, the very first thing you want to do whenever you pull up your print is you want to choose your environment. That is the most important thing. If you guys have ever not set your environment, you know that your printer will not print anything and give you an error. So that is the first thing you want to do before selecting anything else. The first thing, once you pull up your image, is you want to go and select your print. Obviously, on a print like this, as you can see, you have the white on top. You don't want to select a white image because then it won't print any white. So what I'm going to do now is just go through the setup part, and I'm going to select the black cotton shirt, and then I'm going to select the sizing, right? You always want to have these two windows up, the QRIP and the channel palette. The reason for the QRIP is it makes it easier for you to select your image and sizing it, right? When you go to size it, the biggest you can print is between 12.5 inches to 18. So what I would normally do is put it at 12, right? And then you want to position it. You select your positioning here, where you see the little squares, and you can select the squares, or you can select the drop-down menu to select where you want it to print. When you're going to do a large print, you're always going to select top center. One thing that I do want to make sure that customers are aware of is this check mark here. You always want to make sure that you have this check mark in to ensure that you keep the correct height and width of how your image is created. If you remove it, it will allow you to change your sizing on width and your sizing on length, right? So your image can look a little warped when you do that, right? So you want to make sure that it's always proportioned, right? So that way you don't run into any issues with that. After you've positioned your image, you want to go to print setup, which there's two locations that you can select your print setup from. It's either here from the QRIP, which is the one I normally use, but there's also one up here, right? So wherever you see the little printer with the wrench, that is your print setup. Once you select it, you're going to come here and you're going to select the port. Right now, I don't have it connected to a printer, so you're not seeing anything. But what you would see is the Epson stylus R2400, and then the port number that you have it under. You would select your port. One thing that I do want to talk about is this platen placement. When you first start, a lot of customers, since it looks very similar to the positioning one, they'll select the top center on the platen placement. But what that does is you're telling it that you're moving the platen up to the top center, so it'll shift your image. So you never want to touch the platen placement. You always want to leave it at custom so that it doesn't shift your image. So if you ever do see that you're having issues with your image, double check your print setup, go to your platen placement to make sure that that wasn't shifted. From there, you go to properties, and this is where you set your margins, right? We usually select the margins 2 inches from the top of the platen, right? We select 2 inches from the top of the platen. These arrows here sometimes can be a little confusing. Wherever you see the arrow pointing is how far you're going away from that area. So for example, the arrow that's pointing to the top is you're going to be selecting, and these are in inches, by the way. So if I select 2, it's going to be 2 inches from the top of the plan that it's going to start printing. If I select 0.50, which is half of an inch from the left, it's going to move away half of an inch from where your keypad is. And then if you select 0.50, it's going to move a half an inch away from the opposite end of the keypad, right? So that's just something that I know customers sometimes ask and can get it a little confusing because of the arrows. But we usually select 2 inches, right? And we're going to click OK. And then we're going to click OK again. Once you've set up your image, since this is going to be on a black or dark shirt, the next thing you want to do is go to image, and then you want to add white underbase choke. A lot of customers don't know what this is. What this is doing is when it's laying down the white underbase, what it does is it lowers your white underbase by 2 pixels, which is a real small amount. So it makes your white image 2 pixels smaller, so that when your color comes back and prints on top of it, it avoids having any white outline on the outside of your image, right? So when you're looking at your image, you should always have it set to 2, and 255 is the value of the white underbase. You click OK, and this is why it's important to have your channel palette up, is because you will see this come onto your channel palette. If you don't see it there, then that means we haven't added it, and you want to make sure that you add it. Before you go to print, you want to go over to your print preview, which is this little document with the little search icon. You click on it and it's going to show you your image. As you can see, the background on this is white, so I can't really tell whether or not my image is going to look great, but I can always change the color of my shirt, and I'm going to change it to a black shirt now. So now it'll show me how it's going to look on a black solid shirt. Now, if you want to get really close to what your image is, most of your shirts have some type of lab numbers and HSV numbers, and where it allows you to punch in these numbers here, and now you can get really close to what your shirt might be like, right? So if I click OK on that, then that's the kind of reddish shirt that I'm going to now be printing on. So it gives you a better idea of what you're printing on and how your image is going to look once you're done. Now, back to what I was saying with the white underbase choke. What I meant was that since it lowers your white underbase, it allows you to not have a white border or white outline on the edge of your image. It just shrinks the white underbase. That's all it's doing. It's not doing anything else. If you don't add it, it's okay. Some customers don't add it. They like printing without the white underbase choke, and it's still going to print your white underbase. If you don't add the white underbase choke, it doesn't change anything. So that's pretty much how you would go and set up an image, right? Always choose your environment, then select your sizing, positioning, print setup, selecting your port, properties, selecting your margins from where you want it to print from away from the platen. And you hit OK. Once you're all done with that, you are set to print. Your image is ready to print. One of the things that a lot of customers like to do too is adding it to the bottom of their queue manager. Some customers don't use it, but just for some, so that you guys all know, when you have an active document, right, what you want to do is you want to select the second icon here and add to the active document. What this does is it allows you to rip your image. The rip software rips it, and what it does, it's pretty much scanning your entire image, right? It's going through the white underbase part, and then it goes through the color. So you're gonna right click, and it's gonna give you these options. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select rip, and it's going to start ripping. So as you can see here, what it's doing first a white underbase layer, and then it's gonna do the color layer. Once it's complete, if you already have your numbers punched in for your inks and the cost per liter, and you can add, which we'll go into here in just a moment. This will give you an estimate of a real accurate estimate of how much the cost is going to be to print this image in this size and on that particular shirt. So once it's done ripping, depending obviously on the size of the image, it may take a few seconds, it may take a minute here. So this one is almost done. Once it's done, you'll be able to expand this area here. And this is all before you even start to print. You can get this information. Once we go in here, it'll give you the ink costs. And if you have any additional things set up in your cost, it will add it. So it can give you total cost. So not just your ink cost, it'll also give you the total. All right, so this is where you go to check that before you actually print. And then once you're ready to print, you just hit the print. It'll double check and make sure that you're printing on the correct one. You click OK, and then it'll start to print your image. The next thing that we're actually going to go over is the ink cost. So that was just the how to set up an image, which a lot of you already know. The next thing that we're going to do is actually the ink cost, which is something that a lot of customers love, because it allows you to do not just add the ink, right, but also add your shirt cost, your labor, your pre-treatment. So as you can see here, I don't have any cost on here, but I'm going to put my per liter cost on my gamut ink, right? Because we have the bulk ink system, best pricing. So it allows you to put your ink cost, right? So this is per liter, as you can see up at the top. But here I can add additional, right? I want to add my shirt, right? So I'm going to add my my black shirts. And then you can name them something else, right? So my black Spectra shirt, my black next level shirt, so that you know. Obviously, some of you guys get different costs for different shirts, and then you want to put in your price per shirt, right? I'm just gonna put an average of $4. I can also add another one, which would be my pre-treatment, right? And I'm going to put that per shirt, right? Because you want your average per shirt. I'm gonna put it's roughly about 40 cents per shirt. And I'm going to also put labor. Let's say that how much does it cost me to pay somebody to print a shirt from pre-treating to the end, right? It takes roughly anywhere between 7 to 10 minutes from the pre-treatment process to loading it and getting your image done. So we can, depending on how much you pay your employee, you probably cost you about, I don't know, 75 cents of labor per shirt, right? You hit the little check mark here once you're completed adding all your additional costs, right? You should already have your ink cost in there. If you don't, this is a way to add it. Hit the little check mark, and it'll ask me, since I just ripped this file, if I want to do it to this current job. I'll say yes, and it will start to add up the cost. And again, I went into options and ink cost. and that brings up the in cost page where you can add your costs, and then the additional cost would be like your shirts, your pre-treatment, your labor. If you want to add your electricity, anything, you can add as much as you want. This can give you a better estimate of what your per shirt cost is. So when you are pricing out or sending out your quotes, right? Once I open this file up now, it should tell me this 10 by 10 image, full color image, is going to cost me 99 cents to print the white underbase and then come back and print the color, right? And the total cost of the shirt, including the shirt, the pre-treatment and labor, is going to cost me about $6.14. So this is a much more accurate estimate on your shirt cost, right? So this is part of one of the greatest features of the RIP, right? It allows you to be as accurate as possible when it comes to being able to price out your shirts. The next thing that I'm gonna go over is the fuzziness. A lot of customers ask what the fuzziness is, right? And fuzziness and highlight is connected together. So the highlight is what it believes an image, what white is on an image, right? But the fuzziness is also used to increase or decrease the amount of white that it lays down in the areas that it believes is white. For example, on an image that has white like this here, right? If we were to increase the fuzziness, it would lay down more of a solid white. If it has any of shadows, right? Any type of like small grayish shadows on a white, then if you increase the fuzziness, it's going to lay down more white on that gray area if you want those shadows to go away. So a lot of customers ask me what is fuzziness, and that's what it is. It's just it's the increase of the highlight. So the highlight and the fuzziness are combined. The choke, the percentage of the choke is always 100% is to the shrinkage, right, of the white underbase, which we talked about earlier, right? All it's doing is shrinking your white underbase by 2 pixels, so it's not very much, and that's so that it doesn't give you a white outline. Your underbase, right? That wouldn't always want, you always want it to be at 100%. It's how much white ink it's going to lay down. And then it's always on the fly. This is to make sure that it's highlighting the generator on the fly so that it knows the image and it's reading the image. Color strength never affects any of your white underbase, right? It doesn't affect anything. It only affects what's coming out on top of your white underbase when you're printing on a shirt. And it will affect on the white shirt, obviously, all the color that you're laying down. If you increase it, it will be more vibrant. Same with a color boost. This one is also another part of the RIP that customers ask about a lot. We always suggest if you are going to use the color boost is to go anywhere between 3 to 5% increments. And the reason for that is because if you increase the color boost too much, it will make your colors completely different. So it can go your brown can go into like an orange color, your blues into purple colors. So if you want to test it or increase vibrancy, right, you can do that, but always go anywhere between 3 to 5% increments at a time, so that way you don't overdo it and your image doesn't come out the way you want it. These here, the platen placement is where it's going to start to print, right? So your X is the horizontal and the Y is as it's coming down. And that one will always be at 0. That's just as your gantry is moving down. The platen size, this one really never moves. We should always leave it at the standard platen size. The only time that we really do move it is if you have the extra large one. The reason for the extra large is obviously because of the length, right? So the length on the standard one only goes up to 18 inches. The length on the extra large goes up to 22. Whether you have a youth platen, whether you have a chest platen, you have a toddler platen, always leave it at your standard. Reason for that is if you've noticed on your other platens, they're already centered for you. All you have to know is what is the length of my platen. For example, here the youth platen is 10 inches by 13. So this image here that we have 10 by 10 will print on a youth platen without a problem, and also increasing and putting my 2 inches, right? Because the youth platen will only print from 10.5 inches by 13 inches, right? So as long as the image isn't any higher than that, in either way, width or length, it's going to print just fine. And you want to make sure that you position it top center, because it's the toddler platens are already centered, right? So they're already at the toddler, the chest, they're already centered for you. So when it starts, it's going to start right in the middle of where your platen is. So you always want to make sure that that you position it there and never change the platen. Obviously, your environments are all here, right? You might see a bunch more environments on mine, and that's just because of previous, the TX, the TX Plus, older machines, the 500, so on and so forth. So those of you that have the TX Plus, quality mode, the Plus production mode, and then you have also the TX photo mode. For some of you guys that just have the TX, right? You have the TX media, and then you also have the TX production mode. I will go over these when it comes to your 330TX, the Omniprint 330TX regular, right? It's gonna print on regular settings. Nothing's gonna change. The photo environment is used more for, obviously, as it sends photos, right? So that helps you with the colors, right? Trying to grab a color, because those are usually JPEGs, and the RIP doesn't really know what colors the picture is, right? The difference between the regular Omniprint, the TX, and the production is that it will lower the resolution of the white so that it prints a little faster, right? So if you want to really bang it out and it's not changing anything, and you have a high resolution image, and as you're printing, you want to use a production mode, you will lose a little bit of resolution, but you will print faster. Same with the Plus, right? If you have quality mode, it's going to print in regular settings, and when you go to production mode, same thing. It's going to lose some resolution, but it will print faster for you. The next thing I'm going to go over with you guys is the images that you want to select, right? So those are always, there's 4 type of images that you want to upload to your RIP, and that is a PNG, a PSD, JPEG, and a TIFF, right? So those are the 4 images that you want to select. Any other images that will not open on your RIP file. So you want to make sure that when you're saving it as a PNG, as a TIFF, or JPEG, or a PSD, right? Those are very important. And then obviously choosing the correct environment. When you go into your environment, very important that you have already, if you have black, right? If you select black, it's not going to print any black on what your image is black already, right? So when you're creating your designs, anything that's black will not lay down on a black shirt. There's no black in it. On a white shirt, same thing. We talked about this image having white. If you select white, it's not going to print any white, right? It's just going to use the garment. One of the other things that we also get asked is, how do I save a file? So to save a file, there's pretty simple steps here, right? So after you've ripped the image and you've set it up, as you can see here, right, we have the eagle. What you want to do here first is these 3 little dots will tell you where you want to save it, right? So if you click on it and I select the desktop, right, that's where I want to save this. I hit save, right? And then what I want to do is I want to hit the little save job here. And now it's saving it. Now, once it's saved, I can exit out of here, say yes on this, because I still want to close the document. It's already been saved. Hit yes. And then you want to use your file to load it up. So to load up a job, you want to click on this. You want to go to your desktop, and you want to go find that snake, which is this one here, right? When you click on it, you hit open, and it will bring you the job back to your queue manager. It will not show you your print here, but it will show it to you here, and it will be ready to print. The job is already set, it's already ripped, and it's ready to go. You've already set up your sizing, you've already done your print setup, you've already selected the port. As long as it's connected right with a USB in, you've done your height adjustment, everything's ready to go and print, right? As you can see, it still has the ink cost and the total, so everything's saved on there. So that's for jobs that you're constantly printing. Again, it will not show you the job up in the normal area, but it will bring you the job back. The other thing I wanted to also bring up is the cropping. So there's not a whole lot of changes that you can do to an image, right? But you are able to do some things. Once you've got your image, it's already been done in Illustrator, Photoshop. You want to do all of your editing there. But if you have customers, obviously, that send you the graphics, right? Sometimes you'll see where there's a bunch of the transparent background, there's a gap on the top. As you can see on this one, there isn't a gap, right? But you can shrink it down by cropping it, right? If you see this D here, this gives you that tool to select it and to crop it. You'll see the little kind of like a plus sign, and wherever you start, it's going to crop it out. And as you can see, it's telling you the actual size as you're dragging it along on how big your size is going to be, right? Depending on where you want to crop it. Once you're done, so what I want to do on this one, I actually want to select just the face, right? I'm going to select just the snake. Actually, there we go. So that's the area that I want to crop. Once I've selected it, I want to go to selection and hit crop. So what it's done now, right? It's brought me this image, and I'm able to print just this area of this image. Now, this is mostly used for areas for images that have too much of a margin in between, right, on the sides or on the top, so that way it allows you to compact it and make it easier for you to set up your job. But if you just wanted to print a certain area, this would be the same way, right? You can just go into the little D, again, select the area that you want, go to selection, crop. It crops out that image there. The print preview is something that is also that I did miss one thing here. We want to always make sure we use it, because if you're not looking at your image, right? If you're not looking at it before you print it, you may not capture pixelations, right? So if a customer is sending you a file, if you go to your print preview, it will show you the details here, right? So as you zoom in, you can see if any area is pixelated, right? And you always want to have your image size the way you want it, right? So if you wanted to print by 10 by 10, that should already be done in Illustrator. But if it hasn't been, like I said, you can crop that part out. The channel palette too, be careful. Sometimes if you deselect these little eyes here, right, it'll change the color and it will actually print. So what we're telling it here is that we're taking away the green, right? So just be careful with that too. Sometimes we may not catch it, accidentally click on it, and then you print and it looks nothing like what you were expecting for it to print. So just make sure that we are careful when clicking on these little eyes here so that it doesn't change the color of your image. The rip is also good for the some of the color management, right? So you can always look at your lab work, right? So as you start to print, we do have Pantones available, right? So that your image can match better when you upload it to the RIP. So if you don't have it, please let me know. You can reach me at saguirre@omniprintonline.com. I'm sure we'll put it up there on the chat, and I can email you guys those Pantones. So if there's a certain color that you want to hit, these Pantones will help you when you go into Illustrator, Photoshop to change out, so that way you can hit the color that you want. Those are a little bit more advanced. This is more just the regular kind of setup of an image and what you're looking for, and the most common things that are asked, which is typically the fuzziness, which we went over, and how to set up the image, things that you can change out, crop out, what some of the icons do and say. So that is pretty much the basics of setting up your print and making sure that you take a look at your cost. But we are ready to maybe take some questions, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, Seraphine, thank you. We dove, for those of you that are just showing up, we dove straight first into that topic. We covered how to set up an image in the RIP, and then we started talking a little bit about some advanced settings. But what I want to know, and I know that people might not be able to see other people's chats again today, and that might be something that we need to get hooked up and worked out. That will be fixed by next week. We're gonna open that up so that people can see other people talking in the chat program. But I want to hear from you. For everybody here, was that of value to you? Did you learn anything? Was it not of value to you? So drop a message in the chat. Let me know. Because the goal for these calls every single week, again, are to coach you up so that you can become the best pre-jet printer on the planet. Because when you print well, your customers are going to dig it. You're going to make more cash. You're going to build longer customer lifetime value, and in return, happy customers make us happy. It's a cyclical game here. So keep dropping. It looks like we got a lot of people that are very helpful. Yes, definitely of value. Amazing. Yes, it was great. Definitely of value. This is wonderful. I love hearing that, guys. This is the entire point of us being here today is for that person. Actually, hey, Seraphine, that comment you sent with your email only went to panelists. Click the little blue button at the bottom of the chat where it says panelists and attendees, and try and repost that. See if they can see it.
For sure.
Sweet. We're going to take a couple of questions. We've got 19 minutes to wrap through. I do want to take questions live. Okay, guys. So I know I've got 8 Q&A questions written up. Ross, I see you with your hand up over here. We're gonna dive into that. But I want to take your questions live. I want to engage. So if you would prefer to take it live over the top instead of in the Q&A box, that's fine. But I'm going to start with colorbound here and go live, Seraphine.
Sure.
Then we'll jump into some of the Q&A questions in the bottom box. Okay. All right. Colorbound, go ahead and unmute, and you should be good to go.
Hello.
Hey, we can hear you.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How about yourself?
Good. It's really been grateful. I'm really happy, even though I had the printer for a year, and I haven't done anything. I'm just still learning, and it's really helpful. Question. Yes, and my question is, when you change the pattern for, let's say, for extra large, do you have to adjust anything else beside the center or whatever that your image is going to be set on your print?
That is a great question. Yes, no, you don't. Once you change it from to the extra large, it knows at that point that it can print 12.5 by 22. So now you can have your image be much larger. So yes, all you got to do is just change it from the standard to extra large. Don't need to do anything else. Just make sure that your image isn't larger than 12.5 by 22.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Thanks for hanging out. Cool. All right. Now we're going to go through here. Again, if anybody has any questions that you want to answer or talk through live, just raise your hand. There's a little button at the bottom of the screen that says raise hand. Raise it. I'll patch you in. We can talk live. Have a conversation. Let me go through a couple of, got shirtdna here. We're going to hook that up. But shirtdna, before I get to you, let me take a couple here. Seraphine from Pat Leonard, is there a way to avoid exposed white artifacts created by the add underbase channel when there is a very sharp inside angle on your artwork?
There is. So one of the things that we like to do when it's something that is sharp is printing in uni. I don't know, Pat, if you've tried that already.
Yeah, Pat, just drop it into the chat if you've already tried that. This is why we like having people live, so we can have a conversation.
Yeah.
He has not tried that, Seraphine.
Okay. So the way you want to do that is once you've set everything up, right, you want to go to your properties, and here there's a device options tab. What you want to do is click on there, and you'll see the print directional here. And in that print directional, you can change it to uni. So what that does is it allows you to sharpen and get those smaller fine areas. So your print head, usually it's printing as it's moving on both sides. But what this does is it prints and then returns, prints, returns, instead of print, 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 print. So this kind of helps with that sharp and defined areas.
Got it. Pat, I hope that helped. Good question. He says it's not something that shows on the print time. It's in the file. He said he'll email you tomorrow, Surfing. So we'll get him some questions.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, Pat. Good question, though. All right, let me do another quick one here from Victor Rubio, and then shirtdna, I'm patching you in right after. The ink cost is really good data, Victor says, but is there a way we can download the data at the end of the day instead of stopping production or having them remember to write it down?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So when you have it, Victor, when you have the jobs on here, right? When you go to print them, just don't delete them from the bottom, right? And don't close out your images. So you want to keep them all on there. And then as you have these ready to print, or once they're done printing, then you can right click them and do the same thing, just rip it, and it'll go through the ink cost. But you got to rip them each individually, so that might take a little bit longer, but yeah, you'll be doing them all at once at the end of the day instead of stopping, like you said.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. All right, shirtdna, I'm about to patch you in. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, hello.
You're in. How you doing?
Good, and you?
Good,
man. Welcome.
So I've noticed when I have white color images, it's not like a thick layer of white. I wanted to know how to get that with the fuzziness settings.
Sure. So first, let me ask you something as being on the tech side of things. How does your nozzle check look? Everything looks good when you go to print that nozzle check?
That nozzle check is not 100%. There's one block that's like, I would say 60%.
Okay. So that can be part of the issue, right? Where why it's not laying down your white as solid as you'd like. But even with one of the channels at 60%, we could still fix that. And one of the things that we'd like to do is increasing. Now, are you talking about just a white ink image, right? Like
yes.
It's just a white ink image. If you go to environment, right, you have a white ink solid here. So what this does is it increases the resolution of your white output. So it's laying down more white, right, and it can fill in that area. So for those white solid ink, so yeah, white ink solid is the best way to go. It just lays down about 1.5 more times than the regular amount of white, and it's only going to do one pass. So when you do it on a dark shirt, you'll see how it'll do the white underbase, then come back and do another white over it. This one will just do it on one pass, and it'll lay down a nice white solid base. About that nozzle check being bad, email me. We can maybe take a look at it and see if we can recover some of it.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. Anything else?
For images with color and white, is there a way to increase just the white?
Yeah, so that would be that fuzziness, right? So you can increase the fuzziness, and it'll increase the areas that it knows that are white. Now, if you're talking about the white underbase, is that what you're talking about? When you, like, for example, this image here, right? If I were to print this on a brown or color shirt, right? It's going to lay down white. Are you talking about the white underbase, the one that it lays down beforehand?
Well, I have some images that are color and white, so the white would still won't print color on top of it.
Oh, so I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So like for example, the Eagles white here on this, this is the area that you're talking about?
Right.
Yeah. So your highlight and your fuzziness is what's going to help you increase that. Go in like increments of 5, right? So if it's at 15, increase it to 20. test that and see how it looks. I always tell customers shrink the image, right, and test it on one shirt, pre-treat the entire shirt, and try it with different settings. Use a marker and write down fuzzy 20, fuzzy 25, fuzzy 30, so on and so forth, and the highlight, so that way you can look at it and be able to see, okay, this is the one that I like the best. Now this is a setting, and you didn't go through so many shirts at the same time.
Right.
Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yes.
All right.
Awesome.
Good
All
question.
right. Well, thank you, sir. Pleasure having you here. We're going to move on to another question. Assuming 18 says, can I increase color strength and boost?
Yes, sir, you can. You can increase it. The color boost, though, just be careful, like I mentioned in the video in the beginning. If you increase it too much, your colors are going to change completely. So what you want to do is you want to go between 3 to 5%, right? I like to go in 3% increments. So when you click on the color boost, select 3% and print. Again, kind of like the previous question, if you're playing with the color strength and color boost or any type of highlight or fuzziness, what you want to do is, again, pre-treat just one shirt, shrink your image down to a smaller size, something about 4 by 4, right? So that way you can see what it looks like and then change it, right? So if I have one that I printed at color strength 100, but the color strength is set at 65, right? Because if you were to change it to a dark, it changes the color boost. So I'm going to change that to 70, and I'm going to increase it to 3% color boost. And then you want to write those numbers down to see that that's the way you like it, right? And then print another one at 75%, and then now increase it maybe to 6, and see if that's what you like. That is the best way to do it, to play with the color strength and color boost. It's one of those things that can really change your colors a lot if you increase it too much. So going in smaller increments is the best way to go to get to the right amount, the right color.
Awesome. All right.
And good question, by the way.
That was a good question. Moving on here, we've got 7 minutes ish. Actually, we're gonna be taking 3 more calls because I got a promo I want to tell you guys about regarding our subscription stuff, which is important to everybody. Let's see. Ryan Beerworth, I hope I pronounced that right. Seraphine's email is in the chat, so you can get that. He wants to Pantone colors.
Sure. I see one here from True to me.
Trudian?
Trudian, yeah.
Okay.
Once I've set things like color boost and all those settings, will they save the next time? Yes, they will. The way you save it, your image, as you go through it, the way we went through the setting up, right, saving the location where you want it to be saved. I want it on my desktop, for example, hit save, and then we hit the save button. Everything that we've changed on, whether the rip, the underbase, the fuzziness, the color strength, color boost, all of that saves on you. The one thing, like I mentioned before, is just that when you bring the image back, you'll only see it on the queue. You won't actually see it here as you see it on this color or on this image. As you can see the eagle, right? You won't see it up here on the rip. You'll only see it on the queue manager, but the image will pop up like you see the snake here, and it'll give you your ink cost again. And everything will be saved exactly how you have it set.
All right. Seraphine, you want to take Nathan's? It says, we've had some issues where grays and PNG artwork have a blue hue when printed with default settings of on-the-fly highlight generator, and have found it is significantly reduced if we change HD setting to none. Could you speak on what would cause the blue hue and how to avoid / correct that?
So I guess first I would need to see the nozzle check, the height, right, of making sure that the shirt's nice tucked in. Hopefully it's not overspraying or that it's not shooting too far out. And then the image, right, making sure that it was created without some like sharp images, right? So it's like a small, I don't know if you got like a small area and a defined area or a sharp area, right? And that can cause it to kind of overspray or look like it's laying down blue into something else. But the best way to do it would be to actually look at it to give you the best answer possible. Without really looking at it, I can't really say. But if you'd like, we can set up a call, you and I, and we can go over it.
All right. Cool. Wendy says, make sure there's no hands. Actually, all right. I'm going to patch in one more live call. I'm going to give you actual link designs. I'm going to give you a minute and a half here, and then we're going to patch through some stuff. We do have quite a few questions here, and I know you guys have been patient and want to get some answers, but we're going to try to get to most of them. If you guys are all okay with this, I don't mind going 5 minutes over just to get through some questions to help here. Because again, you're here. We appreciate and respect your time. We want to get you some help. So if everybody's okay with that, we're going to go 5 over.
I'm okay with it.
And get a couple more questions in here. All right. Actual link design. I'm going to get you in here real quick. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, how are you doing today? Anthony.
Nice to meet you, Anthony.
From Actual Ink Designs. I just got the Omniprinter. I have an Omniprinter TX and an Omniprinter Plus, and
Nice.
I've been trying to do. I've had it a month, so I'm not going to get into all the other problems that I've been having. But
Sure.
Quick, the first job I tried to do was a grayscale or I say a black and white picture. We had like gray tones.
Sure.
And I'm running into where the grays are printing purplish. Okay, so I had another design shortly a couple of weeks later, the same thing where it was a illustration design, and the same thing happened. It was printing purple tones instead of the gray tones. I was told to use the picture media.
Right, the photo environment.
Yeah. But I've been doing direct to garment printing for 6 years now. I just recently bought, so I'm not new to direct to garment printing at all. I just have it's just a new type of machine. So I'm trying to learn more of your ins and outs. We had dark media, color media, and just white. I mean, you have more media choice selections per se. I mean, plus we have production mode as well, but I very seldom use production mode and on the things that I did. So, but you're suggesting photo, and the photo, I have a problem with that because it's printing black.
Right. So I guess the best way to answer that is the image is a PNG, right?
Yeah, correct.
It's already been high quality. 300
everything. Most of the stuff we do. Yeah, most of the stuff that we do is because we are a design shop, so we're designing in Illustrator and just changing it into a PNG. So everything's high resolution. Okay. No backgrounds to it, just like you got there. So like something like that we would print, but we print a lot of black. We print a lot of black designs, of black shirt designs.
Sure.
So a lot of, or I'm taking a picture, manipulating it, and we're putting it on black or whatever. So it's requiring white and gray tones and a lot of tones. So, but to me, it throws me for a loop to use it as, even though I'm creating it, I got to use a photograph. I have to use a photograph.
No, of course. Yeah. Now, is this let's say, are those the only 2 images that you're having issues with, or is it happening with multiple images, like where it's not printing the correct highlighted area that it should be, and it's changing the color?
It's more or less that, and a few other things. Like I did another design that was a drawing and it was a PNG, but it seemed like it was running a lot of red as well.
Okay.
In the design, it was running more, I would say, magenta. It was running way more magenta than I would recommend.
Okay. And no changes into your color boost or color strength, not touching any of the settings or original settings, not going into. Okay. Nope. Are you currently working with somebody right now? I'm sorry, what was your name again? Andrew? Anthony. Are you currently working with any of my techs right now?
It's like I said, I ain't gonna get.
Sure. I'm working. Here's what I like to do is, what do we have you under as a company name?
Actual Ink Designs. ACTUALINK Designs with an S. But like I said, I'm used to it. The printing, I'm just having issues. I mean, if I want to go grab an old design that I printed before, I
here's
wanted to print the same. I don't want to.
of course, no.
Yeah.
Of course, it shouldn't, it shouldn't be changing, right? So what I
Right.
want to do is take a look at the current agent that you're working with, and I'd like to jump on the call and kind of go into using TeamViewer and looking and seeing your image, and then going and testing it and seeing what it's doing from beginning to end, right?
Yeah.
I like
because we did.
nozzle check,
That sounds good.
treatment, all that, right?
Yeah, because we did that with one of the texts. We printed it, He did the same thing.
Yeah.
And we still were fighting, but we never proceeded after that.
Where are you located?
In Wisconsin.
Okay.
I'm 2 hours ahead of you.
Okay. How's 4 o'clock sound an hour from now?
It's already 4. That'd be 6.
4 for me. I'm sorry. 4 for me, 6 for you. Would that work for you?
Yeah, I
Okay.
actually was finna walk out here, but I hang around.
Okay, and my email is also on there. If you can send me your email, send me a quick email, and I'll take a look at the agent working with you, and we'll get this taken care of.
Thank you, Seraphine.
Yes.
Anthony,
Okay,
thanks for having you around. Thank you, boss. I'm
Thank
going to go
you.
ahead and get to another question here. Let's do a couple more. Adam says, how do you cancel a print job after you press print? I've noticed an issue canceling a print job. I have to remove the USB to cancel jobs.
So if you press the feeding button on your machine, it will print for like maybe another 1.5 seconds or so, and then it'll stop. So just press the feeding button on your keypad. That's actually directly on your machine. That will stop it.
Boom. Hey, Seraphine, I'm going to rapid fire a couple here for you, bro, because
Sure.
we're going to be blowing through some time here, but I want to get some. From Darren Manny, how can we dial back the dark colors in photo mode?
Oh, okay. So what you want to do is drop the color strength a little bit. So if you're on, for example, this image, right, we're going to do photo mode, right? And you have the color strength up at 100, you can drop it down by, 11% or 10% and take a look and see if that'll drop the amount of color that you have there.
From Scott at Shore Optimistic, I only have production mode on my 330TX. How do I get photo mode or others added?
Sure. So if you go into this, the little wrench here, it's going to show you the images that the files that you currently have. If you hit the reset environment to factory default, we normally or typically delete anything that doesn't apply to your printer, right? So if you have a plus, we remove all the TX. This is just to not get you confused. And if you have a TX, we remove everything that's on the plus. But if you would like to have it back, just hit the little refresh button. It'll bring then the check mark, and it'll bring everything that you have normally. And it'll give you the regular TX, the photo mode, and your production mode back. But it'll also bring back the TX quality and the TX production mode. So you want to make sure that you're careful on not selecting those. You can delete them as well. So I guess that would be something else to add. If you wanted to delete them, you'd want to go back here and check your environments. Make this box a little bigger, right? Go down to the environments, check out all the pluses. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit delete, right? Until I get all of the pluses out of there. Once they're all gone, I hit the little check mark. I want to also open up this folder and remove them from here so that I don't get confused once I go over there and open it. So I delete it and hit OK. And now when I go here, I have no pluses except for this production one that didn't delete. So if I go back, I hit the delete button, I say yes, the little check mark. Go back here, as you can see, all the plus is gone, right? So I want to delete it from the environment area first, and then go back into the folder and delete it there. But if I hit the refresh button and then the check mark, they're back.
Perfect.
Nice question.
All right, guys, we're out of time. We're actually 6 minutes over, and that was a great session. And I bet we could be here for probably 3 hours talking
Easily.
about this. And so, as a reminder, if you guys need any one-on-one support, you can email support@omniprintonline.com, and Seraphine and his team will get you taken care of. And we've got a lot of reps all over the place that want to genuinely help you. So again, if you've got any other issues, continue posting them in the Facebook group. If they're simple-ish, obviously we're not going to address any electrical or mechanical issues there in the group, but if they're simple-ish rip setting type stuff, our texts in the group can definitely help work through some of that. Before we wrap up, so I don't know, and I feel like I've been kind of talking about this a little bit. You guys might have seen some emails going out, but one thing that we launched over the last couple of weeks is recurring or automatic shipping for ink, pre-treatment, and cleaner products, stuff that you guys are buying multiple times a week, once a month, once every 2 months. And so I guess I got a question. I want you guys to answer, like send in the chat. Did you guys know that we had this available for you? Did you know that we recently launched the ability for you just to set up recurring automatic shipments of the products that you're buying every week? Sumi says no. Ezekiel says no. Okay. That's what I thought. Pete says no. Actualink Design says no. This is like sort of good news because I'm glad I'm asking you, right? The reason, I mean, we worked our absolute tail off to get this live for you guys because I was in a customer shop in Arizona, and they had a Post-it note up on their board that said order ink. And the dude's like, the dude told me, the customer said, he said, I've sat down 4 times today with the intent of ordering ink, but he's just gotten busy and he's forgotten. And what happens, I guarantee all of you can relate to that to some degree or another. What happens is that you guys get to a point, you're like, damn it, I'm out of ink. I can't print, machine's down because you don't have supplies. So we're solving that. And if you want to get your inks, your pre-treatments, and your cleaners delivered to you on an automatic schedule that you set, just go to store.omniprintonline.com, get set up with the ink, get set up with the pre-treatments, get set up with your cleaners, and just stop worrying about whether or not those things are going to show up and stop worrying about having to find out time. I will say, we are also going to be rolling out a promo for everybody who signs up on that, and you guys will save money on your ink purchases. Victor and myself and the team, we're trying to figure that what exactly that's going to be. But over the next day or two, it will be significant savings. If you sign up on automatic deliveries, not only are you going to get the convenience, but you're going to save money on those orders. So I wanted to have that done, that promo defined before this, but we've had a lot of stuff going on here on this end, and I'm not able to roll that out. But suing 18, there will be a cost advantage to getting those things delivered. And suing 18, you already get free shipping if you have orders. Ink orders at $250 or more right now. It used to be $500. We lowered it. We cut it in half as a service for you guys. So I just wanted you to know exactly, Tanya, auto ordering equals saving time, which means that you're making more money. Time is money when it comes to printing. So if you weren't aware that we have that, now you are. Go sign up. If you're not sure how to do it, hit me up in the Facebook group to help, and we'll make sure that our admin team gets you squared away. We want to save you guys time. We want to keep you printing, and we ultimately want to help you make more money. So in closure of this, I hope you guys definitely got value out of this. I know I did. And Seraphine here spends a lot of time walking through and prepping for these sessions. So I hope you guys can appreciate that. Would love to see you guys all back here next Wednesday. We've got some great topics on deck. We're probably going to have some really cool guest speakers here in the coming couple of months. And that's going to be a wrap, folks. Go out there and be great. And if you're not a part of our Facebook group, search for it. Type in Omniprint FreeJet Owners Group, and you'll see it in there. Make sure you join, because we actually have reps in there from 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to 5 p.m. No other brand has that, period. And we're doing that just because we care about you guys. So again, thank you. Look forward to seeing you guys next week, and go be great. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
You have a good one.